The next set of comparisons we're going to do is between Sweep 2 and Sweep 2 with History. I'm going to start with Matrix Sweep 2 with History because it's a super powerful tool that you'll find lots of uses for. Okay, so I'm going to start off by building a ring. So ring rail, size 7, click the green Go button. And the third button over here, outside ring rail, we're going to choose from our library of profiles. Click on the start button to get it to pop out there. You can make whatever adjustments you want. If you're not happy with the profile, you can change to something different. Okay, and once you're happy with your profiles, now you press enter to get rid of all of those viewport control handle arrows. And you can see now I have not one rail but 2 rails to sweep. I'm going to place a profile on the inside rail. So click on that inside rail, press the F6 button, add profiles. Now in the profile placer menu, there's an option for second rail. You want to click this option. Click on this outside finger rail, and now that profile is confined between those 2 curves. You can change the size of this, and we'll go ahead and add another profile. Drive it up to the top. If we want, and you can see as I'm driving it to the top, the height of the profile is being confined between those 2 rails. So we could come in and we could change the width, we could change the profile shape. Okay, but you cannot change the height here because it's being stuck to that rail. When we click this select second rail down here, it stuck it to that rail and it won't let go. So since we're going to do an open sweep, I'm going to add a mirror here, put another one on the other side, and as I position along curve, both of those are going to move along. Okay. If I ever want it to let go of that outside rail, I no longer have the option here to select the second rail. But there's a little trick here. Up in the command line, there's an option for select second rail. If you press enter without selecting anything, it'll actually let go of that second rail. Okay, why you would want to do that, I'm not quite sure. So, but just so you know, that's how you do it. So now we've got our 2 profiles and our 3 profiles and our 2 rail curves. In order to proceed with the sweep function, Sweep 2 with history, you have to get rid of these viewport control handles. They cannot be on here. If you try to sweep right now, those handles will go, the handles along with the profiles will go away and you have to start over from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter to get rid of those viewport control handles. It's okay if you want to make a change, no big deal. F6 MSR brings back your handles. Okay, so now we're going to go into the sweep menu and we're going to choose the Sweep 2 with history. It's asking us to select the rail curves, U and U. Now select the profiles and closed equals yes. So this is going to be a closed sweep. I want it to be an open sweep, so I'm going to toggle closed equals yes to closed equals no, and I'm going to start clicking where I want the sweep to begin. Click, click, and click, enter. Okay, so now I've got my surface that's being confined between those 2 shapes, and it's tapering, or it's transitioning between this profile shape and the profile shape at the bottom. So you get a nice, fun little shape. Now the nice thing about this is it still has history involved. So I can come in, F6, MSR, click on the profile, change the shape of the profile, change the width of the profile. Whatever edits I want to make on this are still possible. Just press enter and everything updates. The nice thing is it still updates with my ring rail as well. So if I wanted to edit the outside ring rail, I could, maybe my customer came in and said, I really don't like the European shank. I really want it to, come around more like an egg shape. Press enter and it updates. So you can see how quickly and easily you can make changes. Another great thing about this is, say my customer, we misread the ring size when I originally was making the design. No big deal. We can come in and we can replace the ring rail with the appropriate size. Press the green go arrow. It'll prompt you. The dialog box reads, you already have a ring rail. Do you want to replace it? Well, yes, I do. It takes just a second, but then everything gets replaced, keeping the original parameters. Okay, everything's adjusted there. So the only thing to take into consideration here is that the sweep history will be broken if you do a Boolean operation on this. So really in this video, I would just want to compare sweep 2 with history. So that is the sweep 2 with history. Now let's take a look at the traditional sweep 2. So I'm just going to delete those. And we'll come in and we'll do a sweep. You know what? Before I do that, I want to do one more thing here. Because history is involved, just so you know, you can come in here and you can call back the handles like I showed you, or you could drag them. So you can see you can get some nice fun shapes there. The thing here is if you drag these, let's try this, F6, MSR, because I have these mirrored, when I drag one, the other one goes for the ride, okay? But if I toggle from mirror to mirror rotate, as I drag one, it actually does the opposite on the other side, which can be more desirable for this type of ring if you want it to be perfectly symmetric. The limitation with this is once you get beyond the center, it kind of doesn't understand where the start and the end is. So if I was to come in here and grab my position along curve and drag them past one another, it gets confused. It doesn't know the order that it's supposed to work in. So let's undo that. So typically what I do if I want to do that kind of bypass look, let's come in here and go F6 MSR. We'll make this a little skinnier. Enter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-sweep these. And I would just do it individually. So I would go surface, sweep 2 with history, U and U, get swept, closed equals no, because I want an open sweep, and I'm going to do half of the ring at once. Press enter, and then half the other ring. Oop, forgot to do closed equals no. It's not the first time I've forgotten to do that. Okay, that'll get you a bypass doing it in 2 sweeps. And the great thing about it is history is still involved. You can still come in and make adjustments now. Okay, So that is just a little bit about Sweep 2 with history. Okay, so I'm going to use these 3 profiles and these 2 outside rails for our regular Sweep 2. Sweep 2. The command line is going to prompt us through this. Select the first rail curve, second rail curve, cross section, or profile. Cross section, cross section, cross section. Same methodology. Start with the one that if you're doing an open sweep, start with the start, and then end with the end. The section in the middle of the start and the end will be opened. So we'll go ahead and press enter when we're done. The seam point arrows follow the same rules that apply in the video we did on the Sweep 1. So you just need to make sure they're pointing in the same direction and they live in the same location. They're all pointing here and they all live on this inside finger rail. So we'll press enter. And you're going to notice it's going to go ahead and sweep. Now in this dialog box, I'm going to leave everything the way it is. Closed sweep is checked and do not simplify is checked, and we'll click OK. And you'll see what's going to happen here. I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of this. And we're going to delete this one. And I'm going to re-sweep this again. So Sweep 2, inside, outside, cross section, cross section, cross section, enter. Make sure the arrows are correct and press enter. And this time we're going to toggle on the maintain height option and click OK. And you can see the difference between these 2 sweeps. The maintain height option keeps a nice flat edge here. Having maintain height unchecked gives us this more feminine curve, which also can be very desirable. Okay, and what's going on here? Maintain height basically says, hey, when you go down this section, I want you to draw a straight line basically and right along here so that it's perfectly straight along the edge. With maintain height unchecked, what it says is, as the distance between the 2 rails decreases, I want you to decrease the thinness or the width of the profile. If it gets wider, I want you to widen the profile. So you can see that when the profile got to about this point, it straightened out and everything remained the same width from the rest of it down. Whereas in this, up towards the top, you get this really feminine taper coming in. Well, that's because the distance between these 2 rail curves, inside and outside rail curves, became dramatically thinner. So the aspect ratio of this cross section was affected. So that's one difference that you have. You have the option to maintain height or to uncheck maintain height in the dialog box when doing your regular Sweep 2. The difference is if I come in here and make some changes, MSR, change the width, it doesn't care because there's no history involved with this sweep. It's the traditional regular Sweep 2 without history. So the traditional Rhino Sweep 2. Another thing that can be done with that's a nice feature with the old Sweep 2. Just going to draw 2 rail curves here. And we're just going to add some shapes on there to sweep. I'm going to do it kind of the old school way by just using a rectangle with the 3-point option, 1 point, 2 point, and then straight up. 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 1 point, 2 Do that again. Rectangle, 3 point, 1 point, 2 point, straight up. Okay, now the point to this is I'm going to use sweep 2 again, the traditional sweep 2, first rail, second rail, profile, profile, enter. Make sure the arrows are in the same location, so they're both on this rail curve, and they're pointing the same direction, and press enter. Sometimes you're going to get a sweep where, you know, here as it moves around, it's kind of sweeping in a linear method. Everything's going this one direction. The nice thing about the sweep 2 option is we have the option to do what's called add slash. When I click on the add slash button, it tells me to pick the point on the rail, first point on rail. So I'm going to choose one rail over here, click, and then pick point on the other rail. And watch what happens to the surface, these little isopalms that run along that surface. I really want them to run kind of perpendicular to the curves, so more like in this orientation. And it kind of straightens those things out. So I can add as many slashes along that sweep as I need to straighten a surface out. Okay, so that's a nice feature within the old sweep 2 command. The last thing I want to kind of talk about with the traditional sweep 2 is the ability to sweep to a point. And we'll just draw an arc between the midpoints here. Okay, now the sweep 2 command, the traditional sweep 2 command, allows you, it has the chain edges, so if you want to know more about that, you can go ahead and go to the sweep 1, comparing sweep 1 video. But I'm going to choose first rail, second rail, and then I'm going to use this point option. Select cross section curve. Point, and I'm going to start with a point here, and then this cross section, and then I'm going to sweep to another point at the end. Okay, and what that does is it makes one surface. Okay. If I try to explode it, it says I can't explode that single surface. If you want to use the Pave Builder, for example, the new Pave Automatico, this one, the Auto Pave Builder, it requires one single surface. So if you were using another method to sweep this, for example, sweep 2, rail curve, profile, enter, OK, rail curve, profile, enter, OK, and joining these two things up, this is not a single surface, and the Pave Builder doesn't know what to do with it. It kind of starts to get confused. So you can't do the Pave Builder with a poly surface. It has to be a single surface. So using the point command or simply placing points in the corner and using those to sweep to allows you the flexibility of creating one single surface, which the Pave Builder will be happy with.